Our mid-morning edition of Arirang News on this Tuesday, March 31st, live from Seoul. I'm Shin Se-min. Before we begin, these are the stories we're following at this hour. In light of the coronavirus outbreak, all schools in South Korea will gradually be going online from April 9th, delaying the start of the brick-and-mortar school year yet again. The Prime Minister also floats the idea of delaying the state college entrance exam. Lows not seen since 2002 as global demand plunges with the coronavirus pandemic paralyzing markets and a price war ranging between Russia and Saudi Arabia. Oil prices dumped to just over $20 a barrel. Plus, Washington's top diplomat Mike Pompeo says the U.S. looks forward for talks with North Korea's leadership on denuclearization. But North Korea isn't in the mood for discussions, ripping into Pompeo and saying it will walk its own way. Our starting point this morning, the major development on deciding the start of South Korea's new school year, which has been already postponed by 1 month. South Korea's Prime Minister says the schools will begin online classes starting April 9th, which is next Wednesday, with the possibility of pushing back the state-run college entrance exam, a major news for high school seniors in the nation who's been preparing for that exam for years now. For more, we have our Ji-young on the line for us. So, Ji-young, we are still hours away from hearing from the nation's government, but we have heard from Prime Minister earlier this morning. So tell us more.
Right, Semin. Schools had been due to start on April 6th, but that looks very unlikely at this point. South Korea's Prime Minister Chung Se-kyun said Tuesday that schools nationwide should gradually start their classes from April 9th, but in an online form, and that it is not right to sacrifice students' right to learn over safety. Take a listen.
As students need time to adapt to online classes to reduce confusion, we believe it is reasonable to start schools from April 9th. Dates for exams should be adjusted accordingly.
The Prime Minister also said that thorough and systematic preparation is needed to provide students with electronic devices and internet connectivity. He added that South Korea's college entrance exam, known as Suneung, will also be rescheduled, implying that the test could be delayed. The spring semester was supposed to start on March 2nd, but it's been delayed due to the outbreak. This is the first time ever that schools in South Korea will begin a new semester in April. The final decision on when to start school and in what form the classes will take place will be made later today in a meeting. That's all I have for now, but I'll bring more updates in a later newscast. Back to you, Semin.
Our Ji-young with those updates. Thank you. At the nation's top office, President Moon Jae-in is currently chairing a cabinet meeting where he's due to review the government's latest economic support measures to help people cope financially during this ongoing COVID-19 outbreak. During the meeting, he's likely to call on officials to swiftly draw up a second supplementary budget in order to provide emergency relief aid to households in the lowest 70% income bracket by the month of May. President Moon is also expected to check on the country's quarantine measures in light of the continued group infections as well as imported cases of the virus. He is also expected to stress the need for global cooperation to overcome the crisis. And now to some numbers. Economic data paints a grim picture for the South Korean economy. According to Statistics Korea on this Tuesday, South Korea's overall industrial output plunged 3.5% in February from the month before, its largest on-month fall since February of 2011. The agency attributed the drop to reduced production in the service sector and also a drop in retail sales because of a change in consumption trends amid the COVID-19 crisis. And disruptions in automobile supply chain also led to a sharp fall in manufacturing production. And business sentiment in South Korea also tumbled this month. The Bank of Korea said on Tuesday that the business survey index for manufacturers was down 9 points on month to 56 for March. It is now at a level not seen since the 2008 global financial crisis. A bitter oil price war between Saudi Arabia and Russia, combined with a coronavirus pandemic sapping demand, have caused oil prices to slump to a low not seen in almost 20 years. In fact, to give you some context, a barrel of oil is now worth less than one delivery pizza would cost you here in South Korea. Our Yoon Jung-min with the details.
U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude slipped more than 6% Monday, settling at just over $20 a barrel, a low not seen since February 2002. Brent crude was down over 8% to some $22 a barrel, also a 18-year low. This as mandated shutdowns over the coronavirus pandemic are taking a wrecking ball to demand for fuel, and as Saudi Arabia and Russia engage in a bitter oil price war. An official at Saudi Arabia's energy ministry said Monday that the kingdom plans to boost oil exports from May as domestic consumption has fallen because of the outbreak. Riyadh had already announced it will sharply increase its oil production after a 3-year deal collapsed this month between OPEC and other producers led by Russia. Saudi Arabia has ordered its state-run oil company Aramco to supply some 12.3 million barrels a day from April. Alerted by the oil price war between the world's top producers, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo spoke with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman last week to press him to refrain from upping oil production. The State Department said Pompeo focused on the need to maintain stability in global energy markets. According to the White House on Monday, President Trump and his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin spoke over the phone and agreed on the importance of global energy markets regaining a degree of stability. Trump and Putin also agreed to work together to combat the COVID-19 pandemic. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
The finance ministers and governors of central banks from G20 member nations will hold a video conference this Tuesday to discuss their response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Citing multiple sources, Reuters reports their second meeting in just over a week will touch upon a series of agenda items, including debt relief to poorer nations hit by the virus. During their first virtual meeting just last week, the G20 agreed to develop an action plan to respond to the pandemic. With COVID-19 sweeping the globe, the total number of infections has now topped 770,000. One of the hardest hit countries, Spain. And the number of infections in that country has now surpassed those reported in China. As of Monday local time, Spain reported more than 5,000 new cases in a single day to a total of over 85,000. And Spain's health emergency chief has also tested positive for the virus, and the death toll there has risen to more than 7,000. In the U.S., the country has seen the most infections with over 155,000 so far. The death toll in the U.S. has surpassed 2,800, and the state of New York and New Jersey are among those with large number of cases. We now have a new schedule for the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. Just a week after the Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and the IOC announced the Games would be postponed to next year due to the coronavirus outbreak, new dates for 2021 were announced on Monday. Our Lee Seung-jae tells us more.
Wasting little time after announcing its postponement of the 2020 Tokyo Summer Olympic Games, the organizers have announced a new schedule for the Olympics and the Paralympics.
The schedule for the Tokyo 2020 Games, the Olympics are going to start on Friday, July 23, 2021 until Sunday, August 8th. The Paralympics are going to start on August 24, Tuesday, and end on Sunday, September 5th. These are the new dates.
According to the IOC President Thomas Bach, the dates were chosen to give the organizers enough time to prepare and to protect those involved.
We chose these dates to follow our principles, which we have established on the 17th of March. And this is, first of all, to safeguard the health of anyone involved in the Olympic Games and to make our contribution to the containment of the virus.
Bach added the organizers have an enormous challenge on their hands, as there's no blueprint for reorganizing such a huge event that's been postponed for a year. However, despite the uphill task, the IOC chief says he hopes the Olympics will serve as a light at the end of the tunnel as the world looks to move on from the COVID-19 pandemic. With a new date set, the organizing committee also announced measures aimed at reducing disruption. It said volunteers who had been offered positions would be retained for next year. The committee also says tickets will remain valid, but full refunds will be given to fans who won't be able to attend in 2021. However, with a recent surge in COVID-19 cases in Japan, the country's main focus right now is on containing the outbreak as best they can. 이승재, Arirang News.
Shifting focus, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says the United States looks forward to sitting down with the North Korean leadership for talks on denuclearization in the near future. Pompeo also reaffirmed the Trump administration's intent to provide assistance to the regime to fight the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Our Kim Hyo-sun with more.
U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has once again called for North Korea to come back to the negotiating table for talks on dismantling its nuclear program. Pompeo said Monday that he's looking forward to sitting down with North Korea's leadership, despite the regime's latest remarks slamming the United States. In an official statement earlier Monday, Pyongyang condemned Pompeo's remarks made last week, during which he called on the group of 7 major economies to continue diplomatic and economic pressure on the regime. The North accused Pompeo of slandering the regime, adding it will, quote, go our own way, without elaborating on what it meant by that. Nevertheless, Pompeo stressed he has been trying diligently to engage in denuclearization negotiations with the North, explaining the leaders of the two countries agreed during their summit meetings to create a brighter future for North Korea. The top U.S. diplomat also said Washington stands ready to help the North fight the coronavirus outbreak. He said the U.S. has offered assistance from early on when it became apparent North Korea was likely to face a challenge. Pompeo also stressed that countries like North Korea and Iran need to be transparent in reporting the extent of the COVID-19 spread within their borders so the international community can effectively help them. So far, North Korea has not reported a single confirmed case of the coronavirus, but many suspect the regime is covering up an outbreak. Kim Hyo-sun, Arirang News.
Across the world, schools have been closed for weeks and even months on end. Making matters worse, no one actually knows for sure when they'll be able to reopen, as the coronavirus pandemic shows no sign of abating anytime soon. With the South Korean government due to officially lay out how it plans to deal with the situation, we thought we'd take a look at how other education systems in countries hit hard by the pandemic are faring. Our Choi Won-jung has this report.
With the COVID-19 pandemic taking over the world, schools around the globe are having to close their doors. In China, the new school semester has been postponed since the beginning of the year, calling on students to stay at home. As an alternative way of learning, the country's education ministry encouraged schools to use online platform, launching a national internet cloud classroom for teachers and students to study at home. Outside of Asia, Italy, the worst-hit country in Europe, has shut schools across the nation. But a school near Milan launched an e-learning class for students to follow their teachers' assignments at home. In France, students currently under a national lockdown are unable to attend classes, while some are conducting them through a video web conferencing app called Zoom.
In general, we have exactly the same classes. What we have to do is to open an application called the Zoom, type in a code for each teacher, then attend the class normally.
In the United States, Jay Inslee, the governor for the state of Washington, recently ordered all public and private schools to close until April 24th. Students at the University of Washington are preparing to engage in online learning for the rest of the school year. By using software like Canvas, it enables college students to complete assignments, deliver presentations, and take quizzes. At the end of the week, they will receive feedback from their professors online. Seoul is also testing out online classes at 10 elementary, middle, and high schools in the city until this Friday. However, educators have concerns surrounding internet access and any weaknesses that the system may have compared to face-to-face learning. Seoul's education ministry is expected to make an announcement after this afternoon's meeting as to whether they will open online classes. Choi Won-jung, Arirang News.
Good morning. March looks to end on a bright and balmy note on this Tuesday. Temperatures will hover way above the seasonal average across much of the country. Meanwhile, central west regions could see high levels of fine dust in the morning, so keep an eye out for that. While a dry weather advisory is in place for many northwest regions, including here in the capital. In fact, Seoul is under dry weather advisory for the fourth day in a row. We had sunny skies to kick off the day, but more clouds will move in later. And a balmy afternoon is in store with highs ranging from 16 to 21 degrees Celsius this afternoon. That's Korea for you, and here's the international weather for viewers around the world.
That's our time at this hour on Arirang News, but more news lineup coming up in our later newscast, so do stay tuned. Thanks for watching and goodbye.
People from across Korea, as well as
more than 200 medical professionals from
the community is pulling together to help each other out. People in the country have also come together.